Don't panic, we're doing something a little different this week, trying some things out. This is Motion Monday's special edition, a State of the Union, if you will, on AI. Cue the tomatoes. We're more than halfway through the year, and I wanted to do something different, a deep dive into AI and its impact on motion design, because honestly, it's changing so fast and there's still tons of uncertainty about what it means for us as artists, our industry, and the longevity of our careers. So let's recap the big developments from the last 6 months, share some insights I've been thinking about, and maybe start a conversation about what the next phase looks like. We're constantly collecting new AI stories for Motion Mondays, but there's too much to share it all. So let me show you what's possible now and ask you to calibrate yourself. What did you think was possible 1 year ago? Almost all this stuff, I would have told you I wasn't even sure it was possible in theory a year ago, but I've been very humbled by how quickly AI has developed. One of the biggest breakthroughs this year was Google's VO3 model, the first that seemed capable of creating real consistency and completely photorealistic video. It can handle humans doing complex movements, dialogue, even creating audio from scratch.
This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
The craziest example I've seen is Untold, the Immortal Blades Saga. If you watch it with sound off, there are moments where it's pretty difficult to tell this is AI generated. Sure, the skin still has that slightly soft, too perfect AI look, but the backgrounds, effects, flames, and water, stuff like that, they're very believable. It's not 100% there, and there are definitely some clear Dune ripoffs, but for a completely AI generated trailer, this is by far the best that I have seen. And here's a psychological effect that I think artists need to deal with. When we look at this, we see all the issues. We know how difficult it can be to get the perfect generation. There was probably 10 or 20 times as much footage generated as actually used. But companies, clients, and non-artists don't know that. They just know that if you hired a VFX team to create this traditionally, it would cost millions or take an incredibly talented team forever. Now there's just a much faster way to get this result. Hailuo is another video model that seems slightly better at motion graphics-y things. Look at this studio logo animation. If I were creating this traditionally using Cinema 4D or Element 3D and After Effects with compositing, it would take a while. To think that this kind of output can be generated is wild. Now, if this was for your buddy's short film, this would probably be good enough. If it was for a real studio with a logo that needed to be 100% accurate, you'd be totally out of luck because you can't really tweak video generations with that amount of control yet. But there's lots of cool technology being built around AI that aims at giving us control. Blender Fusion lets you input an image, segment and lift objects out, and turn them into editable 3D elements using AI. Moonvalley is building a video model called Marey with a unique approach. Their training footage was actually licensed and paid for, but most interesting is their commitment to creating a tool that gives creators the control we're used to as artists. You can upload an image, have Marey generate a 3D scene from it, then actually keyframe your camera moves. It's still early days and pretty rudimentary, but you can see the potential. Then there's Higgsfield's Soul ID, promising consistent character creation in video generations. If you work in brand design or with lifestyle brands, you've dealt with model photography. Now we're close to having a tool that'll let you take a model and generate any camera angle, incorporating that into your design without being limited to existing footage. Check out this project done by our friends over at Kill Two Birds for TNT, and imagine the power you would have as a designer if you could literally create any shot of the talent that you need to fit the design. Capabilities like this are coming for motion designers as these tools get more powerful and more consistent. We interrupt this broadcast for some breaking news. Our All Access program has been exploding in popularity, and today, by popular demand, we're launching quarterly pricing. You can now pay per quarter for unlimited access to all of our courses, unlimited critique, verified credentials, community access, monthly portfolio reviews, and live workshops. You save significant money with annual plans, but some people want quarterly flexibility, and now you have it. Rive Academy Volume 2 launches in just a few weeks, over 11 hours of in-depth training that goes deep into Rive's responsive design system. By the end, you will have built a fully responsive website hero section implemented into a real website. We're also finishing our next After Effects course, plus working on Cavalry training, Unreal for broadcast design, Substance Painter, and UI and UX animation courses. All Access keeps getting better. Find out all the details on our site. Now, even tools like ChatGPT have added features that can be useful for creatives at the beginning of a project. I demonstrated this recently in a workshop for School Motion All Access students. Often, one of the first things you have to do when starting a project is come up with a cool idea. So let's say we needed an idea for a bouncy sweater brand. I don't know what that means, but let's pretend we're doing a campaign for a sweater brand and need some cool visuals. You can actually use AI as a creative partner to bounce ideas off of. I told ChatGPT, you are a brilliant creative director from one of the top motion design studios on earth, and I'd like you to play the role of my creative partner as we try to come up with an idea for a campaign for a new sweater brand, aiming at a younger crowd than typical sweater buyers. What kind of design elements and visual metaphors could we come up with? Here's the response.
So, for a vibrant sweater brand targeting a younger crowd, we definitely want to lean into bold, energetic visuals. We could create a campaign where each sweater is like a superhero with its own unique powers and personality. We can have vibrant animations or illustrations of these sweaters in action, making everyday life more colorful and fun.
The idea suggested isn't exactly right, but there's something to it. So I took that concept to Midjourney's conversational mode and asked it to show me some ideas and then iterated on that. The first results looked too much like an action movie, so I asked it to make it more lifestyle-y and contemporary. Then I requested wide shots, asked it to zoom out even more, and finally said, now make these a little bit more graphic design-y, maybe some flat areas of color and some design elements with the photography. After just a few minutes of going back and forth, really letting the AI prompt me as much as I'm prompting it, you can come up with ideas that, while not perfect, start triggering concepts in your mind, and you can even animate them. Midjourney's newer voice mode and draft mode let you work much closer to the speed of thought, which has been one of the recurring issues with AI tools until recently. We always feature great work in Motion Monday, so let me show you work from artists who are open about AI use. French studio iReal did a spectacular piece for Ulysses Nardin watches, super high-end 3D with beautiful renders and compositions, and in this article on Stash, they talked about using Runway and Midjourney for AI-generated athlete sequences, saying these required reworking within their traditional VFX pipeline to get the quality they wanted. If I didn't tell you those shots used AI, you'd have no idea, but the shots fit perfectly into the piece. Joyrider director Ruari Robinson produced a nearly 4-minute short as a personal project in just 2 weeks, working 16 hours a day in a fever dream, but nonetheless, it's very fast. Generated using Google VO2, not even the most recent version, with editing and lip sync fixes in After Effects and DaVinci. There are definitely some AI feeling shots, but the grading and the treatment hide most of the AI feel. This takes real artistic talent. If you asked Ruari to create this traditionally in 2 weeks, you probably just can't do it. But with AI tools, this kind of quality becomes possible for one person to pull off. Laundry's Gaia piece for Barcelona's Off Festival was made in 2023, believe it or not, using Midjourney and an early version of Runway. Even though it's dated by AI standards, it's still pretty amazing. If you tried executing this traditionally, it would have been so labor and render intensive, it probably wouldn't have been possible. PJ's been upfront about experimenting with AI in studio pipelines, and I think that this is a killer example of what's possible. So here's an important trend I want to address. There's still real backlash against AI in this industry. I mean, just look at the comments on any video we put out that talks about it, including this one. But I see School of Motion's job as helping artists progress in their careers. If you're doing commercial work, there are market forces, deadlines, and budgets that exist whether you want them to or not. And here's the dirty little secret. Lots of artists and studios are using AI. You don't hear about it for 2 reasons. First, it's getting really hard to tell when things use AI. If it's used poorly, you can tell. When it's used subtly or in parts of production that you don't see, typically it's invisible. Getty did a survey saying 76% of respondents can't tell if an image is real, and that was over a year ago. The second reason is they're afraid of backlash, which is totally understandable. But I've talked to a lot of artists, studio heads, people at big companies, and most are using AI, not generating something in VO3 and calling it done, but incorporating AI where appropriate, often in concepting, creating variations faster, like Pentagram using Midjourney to create 1,500 illustrations based on human-made designs. The Collision Awards surveyed artists this year, and 73% said they're incorporating AI tools. That's way more than a majority. Figma found that 61% of small company users say AI is very or critically important. These numbers are going up very fast and reveal, I think, the truth. AI is very useful professionally, and most people are starting to use it. But until it's more acceptable to admit that, the impression that you get on the internet might lead you to believe the opposite. AI will keep getting better, obviously, but how much better can it get? If you could easily control Google VO3, keyframe cameras, pose people, direct actors, I would tell everyone to learn that right now, but You can't. Looking at Moonvalley's Marey, they're attempting exactly that, and it's clear how difficult it will be. It's going to be very hard, very expensive, and it's going to take a while. I don't think motion design skills are going anywhere, to be honest. AI will turn into another tool, and artists who get proficient at integrating AI with traditional tools will create the most attention-grabbing work. I recently interviewed Naeem Talukdar, Moonvalley CEO, whose mission is giving creators tools to create the work that's in their mind when they don't have the budget or resources to actually create it for real. If there are tools that let one person make something that looks like Avatar, that's democratizing visual creation. Being super fast because you utilize AI will become a competitive advantage. At some point, I really think companies will start asking for AI experience in job postings. Mark Cuban predicts a Milli Vanilli effect. When people can't tell what's real, they might crave authentic handcrafted work. He thinks this could also create a U-shaped curve where there's like demand for low budget, low end work that AI can't do well, and high end work that emphasizes human touch, but middle ground stuff that AI can just churn out might be harder to make a living with. It's an intriguing theory, and we'll have to see how it plays out, but I think it might work out the way that it has in the past. You used to be able to make a decent living doing rota or versioning spots for different markets. Now that's much harder to do, but there's an enormous amount of social media ads and other things that have increased a lot in demand. Only time will tell. Let's give a quick shout out to our School Motion Student of the Week, York Mecht, who has been going through After Effects Kickstart. Thinking about all this AI stuff, if someone brand new to motion design asked me what to learn first, I would still say After Effects. It's the tool that brings every discipline together: design, animation, VFX, editing. All the AI stuff you generate typically needs to be combined with other things. And what I love about York's animation is that when you look at the design and animation style, it feels so different than typical AI stuff on social media. Ariel Costa did these boards for us, and that's an artist who really owns a certain style, and one that AI isn't going to be able to generate anytime soon. Artists who learn the basics and get really good at making things by hand, then combine those sensibilities with AI speed of iteration, that's the type of artist that'll be in demand. So, killer work, York. I can't wait to see what course you tackle next. In conclusion, I think you ignore these tools at your peril. They don't work like normal creative tools. You have to learn their strengths and weaknesses to make them useful in production. But they could speed up certain things and give you capabilities that would take more time, expertise, or budget than you have. They make things possible that weren't before. I don't think much will change in the next year or two, but in a decade, the model for a successful motion designer will almost certainly include comfort using AI tools, if not downright expertise. Almost everyone I talk to is using these tools already, whether they're honest about it publicly or not. These tools are here, they're powerful, they get more powerful every day. So at minimum, be aware of their capabilities, start playing around, see if they fit into your work and can speed up your process. Eventually, these tools will have the controls we want, and we'll be able to create anything we can imagine. But none of that matters if you don't have good taste and a good eye. That's still the most important thing, no matter how good AI gets. And that is it for this special edition of Motion Mondays. We launched quarterly pricing for all access today. If you're on a team of 3 or more, reach out about our team training program, and we will be back next week with regular Motion Mondays programming. And please let us know what you think about special editions. Sometimes it's nice to step back and examine what's happening in our industry. So I hope this one got you thinking. See you next week.